You're there. Okay.
I'm not.
All right. Stand by. Oh God. Rain and wet snow on their way to the northeast, and we have another storm that is going to be following that one up as we head into the weekend. That and so much more. You will be dazzled at the spectacle tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, your go-to place when it comes to getting rid of the winter weather stuff, and we've got some in the forecast tonight. They're also transitioning over to spring. So they also have some spring stuff to make your yard look good. That's what it looks on the outside at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. Pick up a snowblower that you might get to use next season, or spreaders, shovels, bag ice pellets and flakes if you need it. And there's still some rock salt around, so head over to Omni. They serve the entire tri state area. New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. 631 756 1125 is the telephone number. And of course, we all know, thanks to Joe Rayo, who says it so eloquently. Well, I mean, there's no other way just to put it. He says it so eloquently. The website, and I can't say it, website is
Omni True Value dot dot
com.
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 Yes, it was right on
Okay.
the tip of my tongue.
And it was.
OmniTrueValue.com.
I could almost flick.
Yes.
I could just flick it off. It was there on the tip of your tongue. Okay, so apparently the chat board is on fire tonight because they must have said it about 15 or 20 times about snow maps. I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't do a snow map. I just didn't see the
What?
I did not do one,
What?
Joe. I think the Weather Service forecast snow maps with this are fine. We're talking about anywhere from some places getting a coating to some places maybe getting a few inches. It's not like we had gradients of 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I just decided from a couple of days ago that I was just not going to. I wasn't going to do a snow map, being that it's not even going to, probably not stick to most paved surfaces anyway. But rumor has it that you have a snow map, so we can show that coming up. But so, what are your thoughts about this? And
It's the
and I was
it's the
just
best kind of snow for commuters. It's the best kind of snow. You can get like in this type of scenario, you can probably get 5, 6, 7 inches as long as it lands on the grass or on the trees or on the top of your car. That's okay as long as people who have to get to work or to school do not encounter 6 or 7 inches of snow. We're not going to see even that much on the roadways. The roadways are looking to be, I think, more wet than white. And still, my son is a teacher, Joe, and he teaches high school in Orange County. He called me up this afternoon at 3 o'clock. He said, "So what's the story?" I said, "You will not have any problems. It's going to be the roadways are going to be mostly wet, not white." And then right after I said that, the National Weather Service came out and issued a winter weather advisory
right,
for Orange County
right.
for the possibility of 2 to 4 inches of snow. And I saw that and I said, "Oh boy, some school official is going to see that and immediately decide that they're going to shut the schools down first things tomorrow or delay the time of the, you know, it's a no-win situation. I really don't think, as you said, I don't really think there's going to be all that much. Paul on the chat board just said, "Joe, not on the trees, please. Power outages." Well, even in this case, Paul, I don't think you'll have much to be concerned about because it's not going to be that super duper heavy, thick, wet. It's actually going to be kind of the clingy kind of snow, which may actually make for a very picturesque Currier and Ives scene tomorrow. But again, so long as it doesn't happen on the roadways, everything should be a-okay.
It's not cold enough.
The treated roadways. The treated roadways, I might add, Joe.
Right. Well, they're going to treat them anyway. They send them out when remember that one time where I'm not exactly sure why they did it back in the during our FiOS one news days where they salted the roads, and I think it was like 45, and we didn't even have snow in the forecast, and we were
Yeah.
scratching our heads wondering what are they
Yep.
doing. It was
Yep.
one of these scenarios where I think maybe a day or two before there were.
Was this Governor Murphy? Was this Governor Murphy doing that?
No,
One of his
I
emergency?
think this was in I think this was in Westchester County that I saw this happen, if I recall. Now, I remember we were talking about this, scratching our heads. Why? Just why? Look,
Yeah.
it, the big issue here, and you know how I just love to stick it to the warm ground theorists out there as often as I can, because 99 times out of 100 it's not a factor. Well, this is for the one time that it is a factor, because it's not like if we were sitting today in the 30s, and it was going to be in the 20s tonight, we probably would be having a totally different conversation about tomorrow. And also, during the day tomorrow, uh, we're going to have temperatures probably that are going to be running between, say, 32, 33 on the low side, and maybe even as high as 35 or 6 on the high side when the stuff's coming down. I mean, that's how it looks to me. Uh, it's just going to have a really difficult time. So yeah, and the other thing is, it's a 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. event, which is exactly the wrong time you want to have an event in the middle of March. Well, it's almost not quite the middle of March, but you really would prefer to have it between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. if you're a snow
And
lover.
7 a.m.
Right.
You're right.
Then
Right.
it
Right.
also would be an entirely different story. But this is a total daytime event, and it just it makes it very difficult. The one way you could compensate for this is if you wind up getting into some real intensity, which is what the NAM still suggests. Then you're going to have there are going to be a lot of forecasts in trouble if 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 the NAM runs are correct, because it does bring in a fairly strong band of snow in here. But I just didn't see it on the other models. So that's the other again. I didn't see the need to to put up a snow map for what this is, and that's
So
I'm I'm
now
sorry.
that you've said all of that, do you want to see my snow? Well, I see you're all set for that. So why don't I just share it? And boom, there it is. This is what I went for tomorrow. This is valid through 8 p.m. tomorrow night, Eastern Standard Time. And notice the little disclaimer at the bottom here in the box, chiefly on non-paved surfaces. Now, you may have a paved surface like your driveway, and if it's not blacktop, there may very well be, at least initially, some accumulation, however slight it may be. For example, here tonight where I am, I'm anticipating that for a few hours, temperatures are going to be below freezing. Now, we have not been below freezing here, Joe, for the last 2 or 3 days. Even as I speak to you now, it's about 36 degrees. But assuming that the temperatures do go below freezing for a while after midnight tonight, or before daybreak tomorrow morning, and that allows the ground to cool just enough. And again, if it's not blacktop, especially, and with the sun rising and with the time of the snow arriving around daybreak, yeah, there could be actually in a few spots on some paved surfaces a little bit of accumulation. But as you pointed out, as the sun gets higher, even though you can't see it, those infrared and ultraviolet rays are going to penetrate the cloud cover, interact with whatever blacktop that is out there, and especially if the roadway has been treated. And simply speaking, even though there might initially be a little bit of snow, that snow is going bye-bye, and it's going to become mostly a wet pavement. The grass, the colder surfaces like the car tops, and yes, the trees. That may be a different story, but uh, look, as you just pointed out, we're not talking about a big time snow here. 1 to 2 inches generally. I have 2 to 4 inches over the northeastern part of Pennsylvania, the Pinocchios. That's Sullivan County that is outlined there, which has elevations as high as 25 and 2,800 feet above sea level. A small section of western Orange County, which is also at a relatively high altitude around the Port Jervis area. These are places that could very well see 3 or 4 inches of snow on colder surfaces, especially. But everywhere else, an inch or two, and south of generally south of 287, even though my boundary line here is actually a bit to the north of 287, but south of 287 in Westchester, lower Westchester, into New York and Long Island, anywhere from a coating to maybe an inch. It's not going to be a big deal, but what the heck? If you want to make a big deal out of it, go right ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that elevation. If you're 1,000 feet up and beyond, you might have some paved surfaces that might wind up getting less traveled paved surfaces. Let's say that might get some snow cover. But again, it wasn't to me. This is not something to go crazy over.
Now,
Now,
Tom, our resident expert who recently won the award.
The Reuben
Who was it that we used to have here?
The Reuben Fairchild
Reuben
Award.
Fairchild Award. Our Reuben
that
Fairchild
really,
Award winner, Tom.
That really does sound like doesn't it sound like an exceptional award for humanitarian? The
Exactly.
for the Reuben Fairchild Humanitarian Award. That's what it sounds like to me.
Going along with Frank Gilroy, you remember Gilroy, right? Gilroy
Hi,
was
Frank.
Here. And also Tom Contino saying, yes, I agree, Joe is too low in the Berkshires on Western Mass. That may very well be true, except keep in mind that we're talking about a coastal system that's passing well south of New England. And as you head to the north, precipitation is going to tend to, especially to the north and east, precipitation amounts are going to tend to drop off. And so, you have to balance things out between temperature. Yes, the Berkshires are high and they can get a lot if you provide enough precipitation. But again, this system is going to be passing away to the south and east of places like northern Connecticut and western Massachusetts. So, you try to balance things out there, which is what I've done, 1 to 2 inches for them. And, places like the Poconos, for example, a little bit closer to the storm track. So a little bit. And I do want to stress just a little bit more with the expectation of 2 to 4 inches. But we'll see. We'll see tomorrow what the final outcome is going to be. It'll be a long day, Joe. I mean, it looks like to me that it's going to take the better part of maybe 8 to 12 hours from the first snowflake to the last snowflake tomorrow. So again, folks may be awakening and heading off to work or school with the first flakes flying tomorrow morning, but they may be coming home to the final snowflakes late tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening.
Now, I'm getting a little more interested in Saturday. It was yesterday. I was talking about the fact that this looked like it might turn out to be a little more progressive, and maybe the cold air would get in a little faster. And the European really picked up on that. The GFS has a little bit of a ways to go, but it too is kind of showing that idea, and the Canadians kind of showing that idea also. The European today, Joe, I don't know if you looked at it, was very interesting. But I would point out something that just occurred to me, and that is it hit a snow. I've had accumulating snow here this winter 3 times. And each time that I've had accumulating snow from whatever weather system we had, and that included the blizzard, by the way, that occurred along the coastal areas of the Northeast and Northern Mid-Atlantic states. Each time that I had accumulating snow resulted in snow for your area, for the area of eastern PA to southern New England. So I'm particularly excited over the fact that the GFS gives me 4 inches for late Friday night, early Saturday morning, and the European actually gave me 6. So
wow.
So if you have the idea of the trend of the trend being your friend, and that history doesn't repeat exactly, but it does rhyme. You may have that going for you, because we've had these deep trough setups in the east, along the East Coast this winter, when we've had some of these snow events, and they have been. They have produced accumulating snows both here and in North Georgia. So I'm excited because I may go out with a bang here as far as some snow. If I don't get it here, at least in the higher ups from above me, because I'm at 2,200 feet, and once you get up here, it's like if you're about 3,000 feet up, you do get much more snow than if you're 2,000 to 3,000. It's the difference is startling. So
Oh, you
I got my
with a
fingers
dry
crossed for Saturday.
with a dry 80 about. I mean, you're maybe 8 or 9 degrees colder than sea level at that altitude.
Oh yeah, oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
And I
so
mean
you that makes all the difference in the
I
world.
went up to Brasstown Bald, which is Georgia's highest peak, at just under 5,000 feet, because it's literally less than 10 minutes from my house. You spend 3 minutes getting to the entrance, and then you spend 7 minutes driving up that winding mountain to get to the top. It's a beautiful, beautiful place and a beautiful views that are from up there. But there was, when I did that a couple of weekends ago, there was still areas up at 4,000 and 5,000 feet that still had some snow cover down in the shade. So those tops do pretty well. All right. So anyway, why don't we get started and do a little weather here? And welcome to everybody on the chat board tonight. Welcome to any of our new viewers. If you are new, we're glad you're here. If you like the show, hit the like button, because Joe and I love it when you hit the like button. And subscribe to my YouTube channel by using your Gmail account, and you could get notifications every time the Joe and Joe show is on. And Joe, you can tell them when such times we are on.
We are on Monday through Friday normally, from at 7:30 to sometimes as much as, well, we've gone on rare occasions we've gone as much as 2 hours, but that's not going to happen tonight. I don't think
No.
we'll go at least an hour here tonight. So we're here Monday through Thursday. Friday, most times we're off on Friday, and we're also off on Saturday. Although this might be an exception, depending upon what happens at the start of the weekend. If it's interesting enough, we will come back here on Friday, and then on Sunday we're here at 11 a.m. with Coffee with Joe and Joe. Although this Joe does not like coffee, so if anything, he usually takes in some tea. He's a teetotaler. The other Joe may like coffee, but in any case, whether you like coffee, tea, cocoa, whatever, we are here on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. And I see, Joe, that on the chat board, I am greatly honored tonight to have my daughter, Maria, who teaches up in the New Paltz area. And she is here, and she says on the chat board, "We want an early dismissal." So who knows? It might happen tomorrow, Maria, because New Paltz is in Ulster County, and they're rather hilly up in Ulster County, and so they may very well pick up more than just an inch or two. Although, as even up there, I think much of it will be only on colder surfaces. The main drags, the main thoroughfares, will be probably more wet than white, even up there. But if they look out the window and the teachers and the corporate folks in the education department feel, oh, it's coming down pretty good. Let's have a rapid dismissal and get them all out of here early.
And
So
right,
that may just well happen tomorrow.
and head to happy hour at the bar.
And hit the happy hour. Yes.
We know where this is going.
Maria, my daughter will be the only one to understand this. They'll all head to Grimaldi for a pizza.
Oh, very.
If Grimaldi still exists, I don't think it does anymore. But what the hell?
Well,
anyway,
there's our satellite loop tonight, Joe, and the clouds are already streaming northward from the western Gulf of Mexico, running northeast through the Ohio Valley, and starting to see high clouds beginning to increase. And also, we are looking at this moisture that's coming in from the Pacific and into the Northwest, and that's going to be setting up the next weather system as that energy is going to be coming eastward as we head toward the end of the week. And with respect to everything that is going on, let's look at the advisories and winter storm warnings and anything else that's up. Just gave the map a fresh update here. So I think they're probably going to add a few more counties to this tomorrow morning. I think this is one of those situations where they, uh, particularly the New York, the Upton office decided, you know what, why don't we just wait till tomorrow morning and see what we're dealing with, and if it requires that we have to add some counties. Boston probably thinking
Hey,
the same thing.
I've seen winter weather advisories so far this winter for a trace of snow out of the New York office. So I still don't know exactly what the criteria is to put a winter weather advisory out, but I think the first thought is that tonight they go with the places that are almost a certainty or surety to get at least a couple of inches, which is why Orange County is in the winter advisory, but Putnam County and Rockland County are not.
Yeah.
But tomorrow morning, Joe, you may very well be right.
Yeah, and you see it there. They run up into the Catskills, and also back to the county surrounding Binghamton, northern and northeastern Pennsylvania, into the Poconos there, and then also down into the mountain peaks in west central PA as they head down into West Virginia. To the west, we've got winter storm watches up for northwestern Missouri, northern Kansas, and winter weather advisories on the Nebraska side. Trying to see. It looks like there are a couple of counties on the Nebraska side that are also under a winter storm watch. Northeastern Colorado, uh, winter storm watch is near the Kansas state line, and winter weather advisories to the west of that. A couple of winter storm warnings up in northwest Colorado, southeastern Wyoming, southwestern Nebraska there, western Wyoming, southeast Idaho, parts of Utah also under winter storm warnings with winter weather advisories surrounding that. And we have winter weather advisories up for uh, much of northeast and north central North Dakota. Wind advisories up down in southern Nevada, including Las Vegas, western Arizona, and a chunk of southern California. Otherwise, the rest of the country having a pretty quiet day. Let's check out what gives with the Storm Prediction Center. The Storm Prediction Center has a small area, a very small area of slight risk touching southeasternmost Louisiana, southernmost Mississippi, Alabama, and the piece of the western part of the Florida Panhandle. The risk area for tomorrow is a slight risk for parts of South Carolina, southern Georgia, the Florida Panhandle, marginal risk up into central Georgia and into southeastern North Carolina, and also a little bit further south there in northern Florida. No severe weather is on the agenda for day 3. And I'll move over to day 4 to see if they've popped up anything in the long range. And, oh, look, Joe, they got a 15% on day 4. Let's go to day 4.
Yes, I noticed that.
They have a
I noticed
15%
that.
probability of day 4, and that's with that deep trough and the development. And the fact that the surface low is going to be tracking pretty far to the south across the Gulf states, which is the reason why, tracking right at the base of that trough, that's the reason why the models have picked up on the fact that there could be some snow down through the southern Appalachians or Appalachians and into the mountains of North Georgia. So kind of makes sense that there'll be a bit of a warm sector setting up to the south and east of me. So that takes care of severe weather tonight. So how about we look at WPC? We all know what WPC and their snowfall probabilities, Joe. They
Weather Prediction Center.
Yes.
Yes.
The weather predictions. Which sounds more foreboding, hitting from WPC or SPC?
I think WPC because W sound is right there. You have a lot to roll off your tongue.
Yes.
The W. It's like Don Pardo,
Right.
Right here on W.
Right.
NBC. Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever.
Here's their new forecast. This is the probability for at least 2. And they've beefed it up a bit in northwest New Jersey, where they have probabilities of 50 to 70% of at least 2. Also, north of Route 84, they have probabilities of 50 to 60%. The 40% is the darkest blue, and that runs right on the edge. And you head down to the coast. If you notice, we're looking at 1 to 5% chance across Long Island, and 5%, except the North Shore, 5 to 10. and a little bit. Then of course the gradations are very tight and they go higher. But I think again this pretty much reflects the temperature profile and the impact of elevation as you go north and west. No question.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So I'll punch up just to see if they have. They probably have a couple of small patches for probability of 4, and they do. And there you go. Northeast PA into the land of Chuck Cardillo, up in maybe the western part of Sullivan County, maybe most of Sullivan County, north and west. Also, a slightly higher probability of at least 4 indicated in northwestern Connecticut, which explains the winter weather advisory that they have up for Litchfield County. Also in central PA, excuse me, you have a that dark green is 30 to 40% probability of at least 4, smack dab in the middle of central PA. And you'll notice that it's well north of Philadelphia, well north of New York City, even well north of Harrisburg in terms of the risk areas there. Now I did notice, by the way, now let's see if they updated this. Before they updated it, this was the updated one from early this morning. So it looks like they updated this again and they've reduced it a bit. But let's see what they got. This is okay. This is for Friday into Saturday. All right. So this is Friday into Saturday. And you see where the probability, let's call this the probability of at least 3. I'm not going to get involved in a slow sleet combination. Let's just say it's the probability of at least 3 inches of snow. So you see where the 30 to 50 sets up from northeast Ohio and on up through western New York and and northern New York, north central New York, and you 10 to 30 running down to the east of that. Now let's look at Saturday to Sunday. And this was issued this morning at just before noontime. So I saw this, I thought, whoa, that's interesting. So they have the coast down into Delaware and even into Virginia. They have a 10 to 30% of at least 3 covering the coastal areas, and just north and west of New York City and north and west of Philadelphia, Joe, they got 30 to 50% probability of at least 3. And you see where the 50 to 70 is, northeastern PA through much of upstate New York and into Vermont, a chunk of New Hampshire, western Massachusetts, and interior Maine. So WPC has kind of picked up on the idea that I mentioned yesterday, because you and I both know how they just watch the show religiously and hang on every word.
Absolutely.
That we brought up the possibility, and that there could be maybe some inland accumulating snows. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. So they must have picked up. They clearly picked up on that and said, you know what, we better beef up our forecast. And just in case they updated this, which I don't think they did, but I'm just going to give it a quick refresh to take a look. Okay, I can't see. I got to put the state borders on and go to 100% opacity. The only thing they
Opacity.
did,
Yes.
the only thing they did is I think they snuck in that 70 to 90 that you see up in northern Maine and northern Vermont. So they added that a little bit, but the rest of the map pretty much looks the same. So they seem to think that there's a chance here for something Saturday, and I agree. I still would probably lean more for the inland areas than for the immediate coast, but after looking at what the models did today, I want to see a little bit more tomorrow with regards to that. So I don't know what you and I don't talk during the day, so we stay very independent in terms of our forecasting. This way, neither of us get biased by the other. I'm wondering what your thoughts are for Saturday.
What I said was on my Facebook page for Saturday was just simply showery rains. Now, I think if anything does happen in terms of a changeover, a flip over, it would be, Saturday night when all of us are flipping the clocks forward 1 hour. So I think much of the daylight hours of Saturday should be more wet than anything else. If we do have a changeover, it probably will not happen until very late Saturday or Saturday night, and I really didn't want to go too. I didn't want to get too involved with that
It's
so
too
so
early.
early in the game. We're only at Tuesday,
Yeah, it's too
too
early
early.
to get.
So
Yeah, I kind
so we'll see.
regardless of whether there's a changeover or not for the coast for the areas down closer to the coast, we're still talking about a system that's going to produce a heck of a lot of wind here, particularly Saturday night into
Yes,
Sunday morning. And I think we're still going to see probably a cornucopia of high wind warnings and wind advisories that'll go up with this.
absolutely. Hey, when you got such an intense system, a stone's throw away to the north and east, like the one that we're looking at for this weekend, yeah, we are going to get backwashed or backlashed, if you will, by strong winds. A lot of people were making comments, Joe, before about the winds we had last night and even into part of today. If you think that was something, wait till we get to this coming weekend. There will be even more of that taking place.
Chuck Cardillo said to me that he had wind gusts when the storms went through there of 65 to 70 miles an hour, and there was some damage that occurred. And I had a few other people send me messages saying that the wind would the storms moved so quickly it was very brief. One of my friends has sent me a message said it lasted all of about 5 or 10 minutes, but it was a very rocky 5 to 10 minutes when that squall line moved on through. Did you get any big
Yes.
wind out of it?
The one thing I hate about my automatic Davis weather station is it never, ever provides accurate readings as far as the wind is concerned. It was blowing like crazy last night, and I'm looking on my control panel, and it's saying like 12, 13, 11, 4. I mean, it never, ever, Joe, even though the anemometer must be whizzing around, it never shows very high, uh, wind velocities. But I would have to say that last night, I mean, when you can hear the wind, and we certainly could hear it last night, it had to be gusting past 40 miles per hour. Also, we have one of our garbage um, bins on the side of the house, relatively lightweight, and it ended up on the front of the house with the top off and getting ready to fly away into Never Never World. Um, for the wind to do that, that's an indication that we did have some very strong, and we'll have more of that, as I said, when we get to um, this upcoming weekend with this system. So if it ain't the precip, it's going to be the wind, and we may get the 1-2 punch from Ms. Nature come Saturday.
So I'm looking at the new. By the way, if anybody from Pivotal Weather is watching, we love your maps, but could you answer my email, which I sent weeks ago? Because I would like to put your maps on the air, but I'm not the sort of creature that puts maps up from other sites unless I have, you know, I like to give them the courtesy to let them know that, hey, we'd like to use your maps if it's okay. And most times I get an answer. Well, this is the second or third email I must have sent to them in the last 6 months asking them if we could use the maps, and I've gotten no response. So if you're watching, can you give us an answer? Because I really would love to. This way you get a plug. Your maps look great. The stuff that you have on there is terrific, particularly if you're a subscriber, and I'm a subscriber. So if you could respond, it would be really very nice. Okay, I would think that
It'd be nice, yes.
because I am a subscriber that they would respond to my email. Anyway, I'm just noticing on this that the European has beefed up the amounts on this run for tomorrow. So I mean, if that's worth anything, uh, f- uh, little over 4 inches in New York City, a little over 4 on Long Island, a little under 5 at Yonkers, Capixie 3.2. Middletown 3.8 in New Jersey, Trenton 2.9, a little under 4 at Philadelphia, just over 2 at Wilmington, 6.6 at Allentown. In Connecticut, 2.3 at Hartford, Norwich 3.8, Waterbury 3.9, Bridgeport 4.1, Boston 3.1, Barnstable. Is it Barnstable or Barnstable? Or Barnes Table. I'm guessing it's Barnstable out on the way to the Cape. It's 2.3. So there's sort of a band here, a northeast southwest band, where we've got some heavier snows that it's indicating, and it is out to 90 hours. So let me see what the time frame for 90 hours is. It's not going to be out far enough with regards to Saturday, so I just want to see what. Oh, it actually goes to 1 p.m. Saturday afternoon. So at least I could see the surface map because it's on Tropical Tidbits. It's an hour behind, so they don't have the surface map out yet. So just bear with me here. Listen. I just don't like to show it unless they get in touch with me and let me know it's okay. So uh, so you'll have to just deal with my verbal description of it. Okay, so now they don't give me any snow in North Georgia, so that's interesting. Let me get the surface map up. Here we go. And so the low is a 91 low, Joe. A 991 low in northwestern South Carolina. And if you look at the isobars, they're kind of pointed, more northeast toward southeastern Virginia. Uh, and this is at 7 a.m. on Saturday. So it doesn't go out far enough. But I just want to compare it very quickly to the 12Z, and then I'll bring the European up on Tropical Tidbits so we could take a look at it. Uh, Yeah, so it's a little bit slower because it already had it into on the North Carolina state line, so it's a little bit slower and maybe a shade further east in terms of the way the isobars are oriented. It already has the front through here, and we've got northeast isobars by Saturday morning, so I think that's pretty interesting. Okay, anyway, let's get a map up on here so everybody's not.
Before you get a map up, can I bring us back to the event of tomorrow
Yeah, go ahead.
for a moment?
Yeah, please, by all means.
The one thing that I have been watching with some curiosity is the FGen map on Tropical Tidbits.
Okay,
and you can
which
see
model?
here.
Which model? Oh, do you have it up on the screen?
This is.
Oh, you got
yes,
it up.
I just
Okay,
put it
never
up.
mind. Okay, go ahead.
This is the NAM, and the NAM model for tomorrow's storm. This is the 3 kilometer NAM, and this is for 5 o'clock tomorrow morning Eastern Standard Time. Now you look at this swath of energy. This is omega. This is atmospheric energy, and whenever we see these particular purple lines jammed together very tightly, that sometimes is an indication that we're going to see rather a brief intensity ramp up, if you will, of the precip. Now, all of this is off to our south at 5 a.m. tomorrow. But as we move along here, let me where I don't seem to have the do I have the ability of, oh, there we go. Here we go. So now as we move things forward here in time, here's 7 a.m. tomorrow, 8 a.m. Now by 8 a.m., the first wave of energy has arrived in the New York metropolitan area. That's why we're saying, or at least that's why I'm saying, that we're going to begin to see the first flakes fall right around daybreak. Daybreak now is what, about 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, depending upon your definition. But here it is. It's now begun. But now take a look at what happens as we get what are you laughing at?
Daybreak at 8 o'clock in the morning is for somebody who was drinking heavily the night before. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hey, don't laugh, because we go back on daylight time next week. It's going to be sunrise is going to be again like 7:15, 7:30 again here.
Listen,
it's going to get dark for a lot of our friends waking up at the crack or almost crack of dawn. But here we go. This is now the 12 noon, 1 o'clock. Look at that, Joe. Look at all of that energy. Now, dare I say, I might be the first one and maybe the only one to say this, but dare I say at noon or 1 o'clock, might there even be a rumble or two of thunder with all of this energy just moving through the tri-state area? It's moving through like a Mack truck. I mean, if you want to see snow, and if you want to see the snow, and it's going to be big flakes tomorrow, if you want to see it coming down really hard, it might be very well around noon or 1 o'clock tomorrow if this lines up correctly with the 3 kilometer NAM. Now, I just let me change this. Let's take a look at the 12
Wait,
kilometer
before you
run.
change that,
This
Joe.
is the
Wait,
12
wait, 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 wait.
kilometer.
All right, that's
Yeah.
fine. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, wait a minute. I got to go back to 3 kilometer.
I was just gonna.
So yeah, we're back.
I was just gonna say, why don't you if you switch to the 3 kilometer radar and the precip, you could well first to the precip. I think that's the
Yeah.
radar,
Well,
but you
here
can
it
see the
is.
radar, so you might as well take a look. And it does show some the dark blue heavy snow bands reaching up into northern New Jersey, New York City, and Long Island for a few hours. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's right here. And look at this. It's even showing a little bit of purple, a little bit of sleet. Is that that couldn't be freezing rain because we don't have.
Let me see the aggregation because it's either sleet or it's a little pocket of heavy snow. Hang on a second. I'll look at it on my side here. Give me a moment. Loading, loading, loading. Yes, that map is loading.
Oh,
It's going loading.
it's more.
Rawhide.
Joe, if it was heavy snow, a pocket of heavy snow would be like red. I mean,
yeah, that's probably sleet because then it goes over to rain. The rain area moves up, but sometimes that when we've had some of the big snowstorms where the bigger snowstorms that purple area is not that different from the purple on the sleet if you look on the thing. Okay, never mind.
Right.
Keep going.
Right. Well, I mean, here's 3 kilometer. I'm going back to lower dynamics and 700 millibar here. So this is the amazingly jam-packed Omega energy zone for tomorrow at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. This is on the 3 kilometer NAM. Now you take a look at the 12 kilometer. That's not too much different. In fact, it looks even more jammed together. Those lines, kind of like what they back in the 60s and 70s, we called this a moire pattern. Those like what you see sometimes at the beginning of the Twilight Zone, where all of those lines look like they're spiraling together and jamming together.
Right.
And then finally, take a look at the global model and take a look at the GFS. It too, well, actually, it's not as jammed together. The lines are not as the gradient is not as tight. And if anything, Joe, it shows you that the GFS is a bit faster than the NAM. Already, most of the atmospheric energy has lifted up and away to the north and east. And in fact, we're pretty well moving out of it by 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, whereas the NAM is both the 3 and the 12 kilometer are predicting that we're seeing the heaviest and most intense activity at 1 o'clock. Does the RGM, I never even looked, does the RGM have that? Oh, yeah, the RGM too. Oh, I love you. The fact that they're showing the
He's
RGM
on a tear,
and showing
folks. He's on a tear. Go on, go FGen yourself.
Yeah. So it's moving pretty fast. Pretty fast too. The RGM is a little behind the GFS and a little faster also than the NAM. But you could see, Joe, that about 1 o'clock. Let's say midday tomorrow, noon, 1, 2 o'clock. That would be the time frame, I would think, that whatever we see out of this tomorrow, the most intense dose, the most intense interval is going to come right at the midday hour tomorrow. And again, I can just envision if we have those big, fat, slushy flakes, those big snowflakes, and if it's coming down at, let's say, moderate intensity, it's going to look like a blizzard tomorrow. It may not be sticking necessarily to the roadways, although I tell you what, if it is coming down really hard, it may, even with the above freezing temperatures, it may very well stick even to some of the paved surfaces. And again, listen carefully, because you might hear a rumble or two or grumble of thunder, or you might even see a flash or two of lightning with the energy so intense or so thick at that particular time frame. Again, midday tomorrow.
Well, that's about the only way you're going to accumulate it on the roadways. If you get into at least moderate snow of roughly an inch an hour or more, that'll be enough to compensate for the warmer ground and the sun angle and everything else you want to throw at it. That's the way you'll get the paved surfaces to accumulate. But once it lightens up, it's going to melt from the bottom up anyway. as well as from the top down. The other thing that if it snows hard enough like that, you could briefly get the temperature to drop down. If you're sitting at, say, 34 or 33, you could get the temperature to drop down to, say, 31 or 32. But that's about it. I would be shocked if you could get it any lower than that. And even if you did, even if you could, it wouldn't last because once the intensity lightened up, the temperature would come back up.
Yeah, but it's going to be fun if it does
Oh
happen.
yeah,
I mean, fun from the standpoint that this is not January or February or December. It's March now. The higher sun angle, yeah. The warmer ground, yeah. I could go for a heavy dose of snow for a short time, so long as it doesn't accumulate on my driveway to any great degree.
okay. Well, the GFS also didn't, of all the models, seem to have the least impressive looking radar presentation on the maps for tomorrow. The radar currently, by the way, is actually quite busy across North Carolina, back through Tennessee, northwestern Alabama. I just had a downpour go by me a little while ago, but I'm in the clear for the most part for now anyway. And then you can see some heavier showers in northwest Alabama through north central Mississippi and down into Louisiana on the northern edge in southern Missouri and over in Kentucky. And that's all of that moisture is moving northeastward. That's what's headed here. So if the radar is any indication, it's fairly impressive tonight. So maybe the GFS is, excuse me, maybe the GFS is uh, not uh, not on the same page with, say, the NAM, which has been probably the most aggressive looking of all of them. And now, as I said, the 18Z European has beefed up the amounts and the precip a little bit. So maybe the NAM might have something for tomorrow. The 12-kilometer NAM was fairly aggressive in some spots. So anyway, it'll do what it'll do. And if it winds up that everybody gets 3 to 6 inches and paved roads are covered, there'll be two somewhat embarrassed weather people tomorrow night on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. I'll have to find them, but there will be there will be two embarrassed people. Okay, so
It's like that. It's like that night about oh my goodness, over 40 years ago, when Alan Casper was on CBS and he was saying, well, if that storm doesn't form off the coast and cut off the warm air advection and we get all of that snow, then I'm going to be in big trouble. And then Dave Marish, who was on the anchor desk, said, so what else is new?
exactly. And this is what the NAM has, by the way, and you can see the darker blue patch tomorrow morning around 9, 10 o'clock over parts of New Jersey and Long Island, and then it just kind of moves up to the northeast and weakens a bit. We get into a little rain toward the end of the day, just a little bit. It's probably more of a reflection of losing intensity than anything else, and it's mostly rain in central and south Jersey, southeast PA. Snow to the north and west of there, snow up the Hudson Valley, snow up into New England, and then it goes goodbye as the low moves away to the northeast. So now let's move on to the second system, and I'm still, in the watch and wait phase. Let me, I'm going to go out to the full U.S. because I want to pull up the upper air. And one of the things I'll just say, it does seem now, after looking at this for a couple of days, Joe, where we saw particularly the GFS, which wanted to sharpen this trough off and make it negatively tilted and take it pretty far to the west. It has now gone with the European's idea, which has been progressive, 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 and you see it here, that positively tilted trough. Now it goes neutral right at 80. This is the first time that we've seen the GFS go neutral with the trough pretty much at 80. Yesterday, the trough axis was more between 85 and 90. Now it's more at like 80, and then it tries to swing it up to the northeast from there, trying to take it negative. And then the European, on the other hand, has been pretty consistent here. It's actually gotten even more progressive today. If you look at the tilt of the trough, folks, it's northeast southwest. That's a positively tilted trough. The bottom of the trough is pretty strong. This is the new run, which goes only till Saturday morning. But if we go to the old run, which it was a load, Oh, come on. Seriously? It's
Technology, Joe.
Oh, there we go.
Technology.
Finally.
Yes.
Oh. Oh God, your mother sews socks that smell. Remember that from the Saturday Night Live parody of The Exorcist? I won't repeat the Exorcist part of that, but the Exorcist line, but that's how they got away with it on Saturday Night Live. Use your imagination, okay, if you haven't seen it. All right, so here's the European today, and you'll see that trough coming around. This is Wednesday and going into Thursday. I love that we have these 3-hour increments on here. But look, that trough is more positively tilted on the European. It actually doesn't even get neutral until it's right near the coast, Joe, right on top of us. And it's pretty deep. I mean, it goes all the way down into northern Florida. And on this run, as far as the surface low position, took it right to the benchmark, which shocked me. I
Well,
really was shocked that it had. Here's the low in northern Georgia into eastern North Carolina. It's a 983 low east of Norfolk, Virginia, and then it's a 975 low at 39 and a half and 70 and a half. And when you look at this on Pivotal, it changes the precip to snow late Saturday afternoon, just about everywhere, and then it snows well into at least part of Saturday night. Well, I mean, we're talking here about maybe 6 hours on the backside, because it is going to then fly out to the northeast. So we're going to have to see if this is where this is ultimately going to wind up. Because if it does go like this, I think you make a case for the fact that the cold air will come in a big rush and come in faster once the low gets just far enough east of the Virginia coast. It'll pull down that cold. That's a cold air mass coming in behind it.
yes, indeed. And don't forget the wind.
Yes, and we are gonna
we may
and
be.
we are gonna blow away. Starting later Saturday afternoon, and particularly when the low goes up into the Gulf of Maine Saturday night. That gradient stays pretty tight right into Sunday morning, and then it starts to ease a little bit when we go through Sunday afternoon. Still on the breezy side later in the day, but the strongest winds are going to be, later Saturday afternoon and particularly during Saturday night.
Right. And let's not forget, you'll be setting your clock ahead 1 hour on Saturday night.
Oh yes, I'm so glad you reminded me of that. So that means I'll get up an hour later. The Joe and Joe show will still be at 11, but my body will be at 10. You know, I have to tell you, when I went to Mississippi back a couple of weeks ago, I crossed into the Central
You were
Time.
on Central
I was
Time.
on Central Time, and then a few days later when I drove back, so I had to go back an hour, and then I had to add the hour back. I have to tell you, I felt impact on my person in terms of
Oh, yeah.
that in terms of the change, particularly when I was driving
I
home
we
because it was a 6-hour drive.
we didn't understand. Renata and I didn't understand why when we took our trip down to Chile, Santiago.
In
Really,
Santiago,
Santiago should be.
Chile. Dun,
Yes,
da,
I know
da.
you were going to.
Go on.
Santiago should be on Eastern time. For whatever reason, they're on like double daylight time. Instead of being 5 hours behind Greenwich, they're 3 hours behind Greenwich. So it was like for us, when we arrived there, we had to set our timepieces ahead 2 hours, and we stayed that way through our entire trip to Antarctica. We never did vary from that, and it was kind of nice when we came back to the United States and came back to America and back on regular Eastern time. We were able to set our clocks back 2 hours, and it was like returning. We got 2 extra hours sleep that night, and boy, we certainly could have used that after all we went through for the trek all the way down to South America. So I know how it is when you cross over. Can you imagine living in an area, and I'm sure this must happen, where you're right on the edge of or the boundary zone of a time zone? Whereas, let's say you may live in the Eastern time zone, but you have to commute to work to a place in the Central time zone. and then you go back and forth, back and
Oh,
forth. I wonder if there is such a
well, there's got to be towns that border the time, that are on the
right,
borderline. I think
right.
think they've done stories about a couple of towns in Indiana where one side of the street is on one time zone, the other side of the street is on another time zone, or something along those lines. How do you function that way? I don't know. That would drive me crazy.
I think they did a Frasier. Maybe some of you out there are Frasier fans and remember that sitcom. They did a Frasier where I think they decided that what they were going to do is they were going to celebrate New Year's Day or New Year's Eve twice. That they celebrated once, and then they got in the car or the trailer or whatever, and they zoomed to the west, and they went back one time zone, and then they were going to celebrate again for a second time. So yeah, I guess it is possible. I guess you can do it.
That would just be so darn confusing. I would be so confused if I had to deal with that on a daily basis. It would not be. It's not the sort of thing I want to do. So
Sergio De La Rosa, there's no way in hell that we get 4 or 5 inches in Yonkers. And I don't know if he did this on purpose, but where the E is in Yonkers, he put a 3 there instead. I guess the 3 is silent in this case. So 4 or 5 inches in Yonkers tomorrow. It's too warm. The ground is warm. Marginal temperatures, along with the sun angle, will lower accumulating snow on paved surfaces. Did you or I make the suggestion, Joe, that we were going to get 4 or 5 inches in Yonkers tomorrow?
no.
I don't
Oh
remember.
well, no. The Europeans got it. The European has I think has 5
Oh,
on the new European. And by the way,
by
and
the way,
Brandon already you can find it's on Tropical Tidbits. They have it's the 18Z Euro is there.
I'm not going to suggest we look at them right at this moment, but the plumes, la
Oh,
plumes, were
I was
were,
just going to get them.
were fairly bullish we're fairly bullish on at least the last one that I looked at. I think it was like the 15Z or whatever. They were going for like, even for New York City, they were going for like 3, and in some cases up toward Poughkeepsie, like 5 inches of snow tomorrow out of this. I
Okay.
mean, for everybody. I mean, there was no 1 to 2 or 1 to 3 or everybody was going to get splattered with at least 3 or 4 or
Well,
5 inches.
look.
And thank you, Brendan Doherty, for hitting super chats on that. Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you, Brandon. Look, if we get into a really heavy snow band, which the FGen implies, and if that materializes, and if it can, produce moderate to heavy snow for a couple of hours, yeah, somebody could wind up with a quick 2 to 3 inches. I don't know how much you're going to get on the other side of that, both ahead of it and behind it, but look, it's not. I, I would not rule out upside. Okay, I won't rule out upside out of this. Let's just put it like that. But based on what I've been seeing in terms of the temperature profiles and everything else, I would be very hesitant to go more than what I went for, which is for a few inches. And that's all there is to it.
And that's all there is.
Okay, so I
yes.
just punched up iSlip. This is the 15. Is this the 15 or the? No, it's the 21. So iSlip gets 3.17. Okay. On Les Plumes de la Brioski. New York City. Okay, it gets 3 point. It gets. I got to be a little careful here because now it goes into Saturday on the last day. So Saturday, what's the date on Saturday, Joe? Is that the today's the 8th, 9/10. So Saturday's what?
Saturday's the 12th.
The 12th. Okay,
The
so
12th.
because it starts to bend the line up again during before 12Z, believe it or not. It's got the line going up. So some of the members are showing it changing over to snow as early as Saturday morning. That I think is a little bit of a rush, but
Right.
so I want to take it's only a couple of hundredths, so basically gives 2.9 for New York City. So effectively it gives 3. White Plains, Joe, gets almost 4 for White Plains. Almost 4 for White Plains. In New Guernsey, for Long Branch, in New Guernsey, 1.54. We'll go further south to Wilmington, Delaware for Brandon Doherty, and they get 1.48. Philadelphia. Philadelphia gets 1.52. And let's see if I can get something around Allentown. Allentown.
Hmm.
Allentown gets just under 4.
Allentown.
Yes. Newark.
Yeah.
Newark gets almost, what is that, 3 point, all right, just over 3. Let's go to Poughkeepsie, or whatever that is between Newburgh and Poughkeepsie. 5.33 for Poughkeepsie. In Connecticut, it's somewhere between Danbury, New Milford, and Waterbury. There's a dot where there's no town named. 4.85. And let's look just north of Hartford.
Hatford.
4.24. And for those of you who are watching from Boston gets to add another 3.62 for Boston. And this is between Faversham and Brockton. No, Framingham and Brockton. Mr. Faversham, 4.5. Okay,
Yes.
so those are the numbers on the plumes, and I guess you said that they were running in that sort of the similar range on the earlier run, correct?
Yeah, they're very homogeneous. They were generally in the 3 to 5 inch range on the plumes. There was no major, like what we've been saying. What I was saying, for example, down toward New York, a coating to an inch, and further up, well north and west, 2 to 4 inches. There's nothing like that. They were all generally lumped in the 3 to 5 inch range tomorrow.
Okay.
And it could. You're right. If that band, and if I tell you what, Joe, if you're still on the plumes, look at any of the places you looked at in the immediate New York area, the 3-hour snow, and you'll see that there's a distinct peak at 18Z at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon,
Yes.
which is the time which is associated with when the maximum omega or the maximum F gen is supposed to be happening on the GFS, the NAM, the RGM. They're all red flagging like 12, 1, 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon as the time when the intensity will be at its greatest. So that'll be the time, if we're going to do anything with this, if any surprises are going to be taking place, that's going to be the time frame, right in that 2-hour frame from noon to 2 o'clock, as to when we see the greatest amount of atmospheric energy passing through the immediate tri-state area.
Okay. So, what if we?
And at 8:34.
Yes, at 8:34. What at 8:34?
Yes.
What time? I guess it's time for a little bit of Briller Jeopardy.
Briller Jeopardy. Yes.
And we wish the
Briller
chairman
Jeopardy.
and his mother well. Well, we wish them well. I meant to say. Well,
Yes.
My brain's
Yes.
my brain's going in all different directions tonight. Okay, I'm ready.
I also want to say that Compton's Picture Encyclopedia is the source of the preparation for questions and answers used on Jeopardy.
I forgot about that.
And now, once again,
none of those encyclopedias
Remember that?
exist anymore. I mean, they're
I don't.
online as websites. Like Britannica has a website, but the books, they don't make the books anymore. I don't think they do. But
Right.
the internet put them out of.
You remember
Google put them out of business.
I tell you, it's amazing. I'm trying to bring this up here. I'm trying to bring the questions up. Hang on. Darn it. I'm having trouble, Joe, just bringing the. Let me see if I do it this way. Boom, boom. No, and by the way, Joe, my Facebook has not changed yet, because you were warning me of that. Aha, here it is. Here we go. And Joe, tonight, from the chairman, time to get scared. Briller Jeopardy for tonight. Alfred Hitchcock movie. Big on that, Joe. Question number 1. In Hitchcock's Stranger on a Train,
Yes.
what sport does Farley Granger accept? All right. That's it. There's number 1. Number 2, in Hitchcock's Frenzy, what was the murder weapon used?
Frenzy, I think I've only seen maybe once. and he was I think the guy strangled them with like a scarf or something.
Close. Necktie.
Necktie.
Right. Number 3. This is an easy one. Oh, you'll get this one, Joe, even before I finish the question. Bodega Bay was the location for which Hitchcock movie?
Bodega Bay. Well, um, Bodega Bay is, for those of you who don't know, is the place where one of the greats of all time, Mrs. Bundy. There she is, Mrs. Bundy with her beret or whatever that is that she's wearing. Um,
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. Say again. Read the give me the question
Well,
again. It's the
you
birds.
know what would it's the birds.
Yes.
That's right. Bodega Bay was the location for which Hitchcock movie? The
Right.
Birds.
We
And
always
if I
keep
could find
Mrs. Bundy handy. So, in fact, I might as well just leave her on the screen. Give her some airtime.
uh, I mean, there's one woman who reminds me of Mrs. Quinn from Holy Rosary School.
She's dead, Joe.
It's Mrs.
She's
Bundy.
dead.
Yeah.
She's still dead. If you went to her grave, it'd still be there. She's not coming.
Yep.
She's not
Yep.
coming back. She's deceased.
Yes.
She has ceased to be. So
Yes. Number 4 on the Hitchcock list. In which Hitchcock movie, Joe, does a glass of milk figure in a key scene?
glass of milk. Oh God. I'm trying to think here, which is, novel for me. Uh, hmm. A glass of milk. Hmm. You have me stumped. I don't recall.
Well, I don't have you stumped, Mr. Briller. The chairman has
Before
you stumped.
answer, any way you can give me a hint?
I wish I could. I don't know how to give you a hint for something like this because I've never seen this movie either, I don't think, or I don't remember the movie.
I mean, I'm just thinking, haven't seen, like I haven't seen the 39 Steps, and I haven't seen Jamaica Inn, and the Hitchcock made Rebecca, but that's a whole different thing. A glass of milk. The Trouble with Harry? That's the only one.
I'll tell you
I don't
what.
think that
When we sit,
Go ahead.
when we say that when Jack Ruby shot Lee Harvey Oswald, everybody immediately said that puts Jack Ruby under blank in the assassination of John Kennedy. Under what?
Oh, God.
When we saw him shoot Lee Harvey Oswald, he said, "Oh, well, that immediately puts Jack Ruby under blank in this assassination."
I'm thinking
Suspicion, Joe.
Oh, Suspicion.
That was the name.
Is a glass of milk a
Suspicion.
suspicion? I'm trying to remember.
I have no clue. You're the expert on this. I don't
yes.
know what.
Okay, now yes, because he's Cary Grant, if I remember correctly, not that he was trying to poison her, but there was an inference that he might have been trying to poison her and gave her a glass of milk to drink to calm her down, or Joan Fontaine's character down, I think. But yeah, okay. And now I'm recalling a glass of milk scene in Suspicion. All right, go ahead.
All right. All of a sudden I feel in the mood for an egg cream. Which one? This is number 5 now. Which one of Hitchcock's films does the villain fall from the Statue of Liberty?
Oh, that's Saboteur.
Saboteur. Yes. Number 6, In the Shadow of a Doubt. How
Which
does
is
the
one of my
central villain
which is
Joseph
among
Cotton?
my favorites. Go ahead.
In the Shadow of Doubt, how does the central villain Joseph Cotton, die?
Oh, he falls out of the train.
Yes.
Hitchcock
it's amazing.
Hitchcock was big on trains, so that's another reason why I'm
Yes.
attracted to his movies. There's a great scene in
Yes.
Shadow of a Doubt that in the beginning of the movie that is such it's telling you what's about to happen when the train pulls into Santa Rosa, which Hitchcock always felt as if that was a typical American town. It was the typical American town, and he meant that in the very that's a compliment for Santa Rosa. Uh, the train pulls into the station, and the train produces this big, huge puff of black smoke, and that was sort of Hitchcock telling you that evil was coming into this pristine, uh, all-American town. I'm going to give Mrs.
Right.
Bundy a break. I'm tired of looking at her. Go ahead.
That's it's not like Galdolfo when they vote for who's going to be the next pope. Everybody looks for the white smoke,
Right. But the
right?
black cloud
And
from the train tells you that evil has come into the town of Santa Rosa. So anyway, go on. What's the
yes,
next
yes.
question?
In the film Psycho, what was Norman Bates's hobby?
Oh, he stuffed birds. Taxidermy.
That's that's right. He stuffed birds.
Yep.
Stuffing birds. Number 8, true or false? An avian hospital was built on the set of the movie The Birds.
I never heard that. I never heard that, so I'm going to say that it's false, but you're going to tell me that it's true.
All right, hold on for a second. The executive producer is telling me something. What were you saying, dear?
We can see you, but I can't hear you. It's
According to
so much and choppy so much that
according so nobody can hear me? She says nobody can hear
Yeah,
me.
all of a sudden your audio's fine on my end.
Well, and I can hear you.
Yeah, it could be my signal because my signal's not that strong. It just suddenly went weak on me. So that could be the reason.
And she just came in and she went like this, saying, "I'm done." I don't know how many else anybody else out there is having the same problem in hearing
yeah,
me.
I'm
or
sorry,
whatever.
folks. I just noticed. I'm just seeing now in the last bit that the buffering is going crazy, Joe, because we're suddenly my signal's dying out. So you know what? Let's say goodnight.
So let's say goodnight. We'll come back with the final few questions on the next Thriller Jeopardy, maybe tomorrow night.
All right. Sorry about the technical problems, folks. I don't control the internet signal around here, and I actually lost the internet earlier today. So we'll see you.
And I can see Kristen Ophelia saying, Renato Rayo, neither one of them are paying attention, so you should call Joe on the intercom.
All right. Have a great day. Have a great rest of your day, which only has a handful of hours left, and we'll see you tomorrow. Night, everybody.
Good night. Well, that was embarrassing.
Yeah, no, I just